Rain lashed against the glass facade of Hart Tower like it had a personal vendetta. Inside, under sterile fluorescent lights and echoing silence, Sarah Lim sat alone at her desk, shoulders tight, fingers typing with quiet urgency. The rest of the office had emptied hours ago. But of course, the junior admin didn't get to go home when the elite made last-minute changes for a corporate gala at the Grand Lux Hotel. Send over the revised seating chart. And don't mess this up, Sarah. I mean it. Her manager's voice had snapped through the phone earlier. She hadn't even had dinner. As she hit send and began to shut down, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Are you the one delivering the gala deck? The voice was clipped, male, impatient.
Yes.
I mean, I wasn't told. You have 20 minutes. Executive ballroom. Killian Hart wants it personally.
Click.
Killian Hart? The CEO himself? Heart pounding, she grabbed the USB, double-checked the file, and dashed out into the storm. The Grand Lux shimmered like a palace of glass and money. Inside, the air was thick with perfume, ego, and expensive silence. Sarah, soaked to the knees and clearly not a guest, was eyed by security until she showed her staff badge. Her heels clicked awkwardly as she stepped into the ballroom, a sea of tuxedos, gowns, crystal chandeliers, and judgment. She spotted a flustered junior host whispering into a headset. I have the presentation, she murmured, holding up the USB. The girl sighed with relief and directed her toward the stage tech. As Sarah handed it over, a waiter tripped near the edge of the platform, sending his tray of red wine flying right into the chest of Ambassador Kwan, the guest of honor.
Gasps.
Screams. Flashes of phone cameras. The ambassador's white suit, now soaked crimson. And Sarah, who was holding the USB and standing closest, was the only one in the line of fire. You, he roared, jabbing a finger. Are you out of your mind? I didn't. Do you know who I am? I will have your job. Your entire department shut down. Suddenly, a deeper voice sliced through the noise.
Calm.
Chilling. That's enough. The room parted like the Red Sea. Sarah turned and saw him. Killian Hart. Impossibly tall, black suit tailored to perfection, eyes as unreadable as the night sky. He walked toward them with the measured grace of a man who owned everything in sight.
She didn't spill that wine.
The tray fell before she got close. His tone was steel dipped in silk. Kwan opened his mouth, but Killian raised a brow. The man went silent. Then, without a glance at Sarah, Killian said, Ms. Lim, isn't it? She nodded, barely breathing. You're late, but you delivered. Stay. She blinked. Stay. He turned, already walking away. I'd like you to see how your work is received. Sarah stood at the back, numb. Her hands trembled. No one offered her a drink, a napkin, or a kind look. But Killian's words replayed in her head like a lifeline.
Stay.
The presentation rolled on screens the size of walls. It was her work, flawless, refined, and praised by every speaker who followed. But no one mentioned her name. At the end, Killian approached the podium. The applause died instantly. He scanned the room. Tonight, we revealed a vision that doesn't just represent growth. It represents clarity, precision, and people who don't hesitate under pressure. Then his eyes locked with hers. I'd like to recognize someone who ensured tonight's vision wasn't derailed, even when the unexpected happened. Her heart stopped. Ms. Sarah Lim. A hush. Someone scoffed. Others turned to see her, confusion painted across their faces. She stepped forward. Every instinct screamed to run, but her chin lifted. Killian handed her a glass of wine. Their fingers brushed. Electricity, sharp and undeniable. Join me, he said. Why? She whispered. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Because I don't like being ignored. And neither should you. Back at her apartment, hours later, Sarah sat on the floor with a towel in her hair and a steaming cup of ramen. Her phone buzzed again, another unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. You held your ground, came the velvet voice. It was him. I didn't think you noticed, she replied. I notice everything, Ms. Lim. She didn't know whether to feel flattered or afraid. Then he said, "I'll see you in my office. First thing."
Click.
Sarah's heels echoed like gunshots in the marble lobby of Hart Enterprises. Every step closer to the executive floor made her heart race faster. She wasn't supposed to be here. She was a junior admin, a ghost in the system, someone who fetched coffees and fixed printers, not someone who got summoned by the CEO himself. The elevator doors opened with a soft ding. Top floor.
Silent. Sleek.
Intimidating. The receptionist gave her a once-over and wordlessly gestured to the massive double doors at the end of the hall. The air smelled expensive, leather, citrus, and pressure. Sarah knocked, heart in her throat. "Enter," came the voice, deep, crisp, absolute. She pushed the doors open and stepped inside. Killian Hart stood behind a desk that looked more like a command center. He didn't look up, just signed something and handed it off to his assistant, who exited silently. Only then did his eyes lift. And just like the night before, they unsettled her.
Dark. Cold.
Sharp enough to cut through armor. "You're early," he said. "You told me to come first thing. I like punctuality, not desperation." She blinked. "Excuse me?" He stood, slow and deliberate. "Most people show up begging when they realize I've noticed them." "I'm not most people," she shot back. His mouth curved slightly. Not a smile. More like a dare. "No, you're not." She stiffened. "Why did you call me here?" "To offer you a promotion," he said, stepping closer. Her breath caught. "A what?" He stopped just a few feet from her, hands in his pockets like this was casual. "Executive assistant. You'll work directly under me. Double the pay. You'll move to the upper floors. New wardrobe allowance. A security pass with full clearance." It sounded like a dream, but there was something off in his tone. Like he wasn't offering, it felt like a move on a chessboard. "Why me?" "I need someone who doesn't crumble in a room full of predators." Sarah crossed her arms. "And if I say no?" "You won't. You don't know me. I know you stayed calm when a political meltdown almost derailed my event. I know you work after hours and don't complain. And I know," he said, stepping even closer, "that you don't care about impressing me. That alone makes you useful." She held his gaze, trying not to let her voice shake. "So, I'm just useful?" He tilted his head. "Unless you plan to be something more." Her cheeks burned. He leaned in, and for one wild second, she thought he might kiss her. But he only whispered, "Clock in tomorrow, 8 sharp. Or walk out and return to your cubicle forgotten." She turned and walked out, her spine straight even as her heart flipped inside her chest. That evening, she sat on her apartment floor again. A bowl of cold noodles in front of her, untouched. Her inbox showed the official offer letter. Her hand hovered over the mouse. She could ignore it.
Decline.
Pretend this man hadn't suddenly rearranged her reality. But her instincts whispered this was the moment everything would change. Sarah clicked accept. The next morning, she entered the executive suite, not in her usual thrifted blouse and flats, but in a tailored navy skirt suit she'd charged on a credit card she shouldn't have touched. Her heels clicked with purpose. The receptionist barely blinked before leading her to Killian's office. "You're late," he said when she walked in. "It's 7:59. He gave her a long look. "Don't get too clever. It's dangerous." "So, is underestimating the girl you hired." This time, his smile did reach his eyes. He handed her a thick folder. "Your first task, cancel the board dinner. Rebook it for Friday. But keep Chairman Lee from finding out I pushed it."
Why?
"Because he's volatile and paranoid. And because I want to see if you can handle a live grenade with a smile." Sarah raised a brow. "Anything else?"
Yes.
"Don't wear navy again. You blend in." She didn't just succeed. She nailed it. Within hours, she'd rescheduled 12 people, maneuvered egos with surgical grace, and even smoothed things over with Chairman Lee by sending his favorite wine as a mistake. When Killian found out, he raised an eyebrow. "Smart." "I'm not here to look pretty and take notes," she said. "Good," he replied. "Because I hate ornaments." They shared a brief silence, loaded, tense. Then he added, "Let's see how long you last." Sarah didn't sleep. Elena's words kept circling her brain like a curse. He always loses interest eventually. She hadn't even wanted to care, but the way Killian's eyes lingered on Elena, that quiet edge of something unspoken, unresolved, it got under her skin. And that irritated her more than the woman's condescension. By 8 a.m., she walked into the office in crimson heels. Let them whisper. Let Elena smirk. She wouldn't be wallpaper in this world. Not anymore. Killian barely looked up when she entered. Good. You're on time. Sarah placed his schedule on the desk. Anything else, Mr. Hart? His gaze finally lifted and paused. She saw it, the flicker in his eyes. Noticed. Registered.
Red.
Smart.
Bold.
His expression didn't change, but she caught the brief clench in his jaw.
Yes.
You'll be joining me tonight. Sarah blinked. Excuse me? There's a gala for the Cancer Trust. I need someone who won't bore me. My usual date is otherwise occupied. You mean Elena? His eyes sharpened. You've been speaking to her? She spoke at me, Sarah muttered. He stood, walked around the desk, and adjusted his cufflinks. Don't let her get to you. She said you always lose interest. His hand paused mid-button. Then, coolly, I never had interest to begin with. That was transactional. And what is this? She asked, voice low. He looked her dead in the eye. To be determined. The gala was held at the Sterling Grand Hotel. Gold chandeliers, champagne towers, and whispers dressed in couture. Sarah stepped out of the car in a gown sent by Killian's assistant, a backless black silk piece that hugged her like a secret. She felt exposed and powerful all at once. Killian offered his arm. She hesitated. He leaned close. Trust me. They'll eat you alive if you walk in alone. She looped her hand through his. Noted. Inside, the temperature dropped the moment they entered. People turned. Men stared. Women whispered. But it was Elena who made the first move, sweeping over in diamonds and venom. Darling, she said to Killian. Then looked Sarah over like an expired coupon. And this must be charity? Sarah smiled sweetly. More like an upgrade. Killian stiffened beside her, then smirked. Play nice, Elena. Oh, I'm always nice, Elena purred, then drifted away. Sarah whispered, She's terrifying. Killian's voice was a murmur, dark and low. She's also dangerous. She doesn't like losing. Am I a prize now? He glanced sideways at her. You're unexpected. The way he said it, quiet, honest, threw her off balance more than any compliment could. Later, as the orchestra swelled, he pulled her into a slow dance. I don't dance, she said. I didn't ask. His hand slipped around her waist. It was possessive but strangely careful, like he was touching something breakable. You keep saying this isn't personal, she said, eyes on his collar. But you look at me like it is. He didn't answer at first. Then, softly, You remind me of someone. An old flame?
No.
A girl who didn't flinch when the world tried to break her. Sarah swallowed hard. What happened to her? She disappeared the moment I became who I am. Their eyes met, and for once his guard dropped. There was hurt there.
Old. Silent.
Unspoken. I'm not her, Sarah whispered. No, he said. But I don't want you to disappear either. As the night ended, he walked her to the car. She hesitated before getting in. Why are you doing this, Killian? He didn't respond right away. Then, because for the first time in years, I don't feel like I'm alone in a room full of people. The door closed before she could answer. Inside the car, Sarah sat frozen. Everything had changed. Sarah's fingers trembled as she reread the note taped to her fridge. You were warned. Stay in your place. Her apartment was silent, but it didn't feel empty. The air was thick, violated. Drawers pulled open, cabinets disturbed. The folder that held her father's medical bills gone. She backed away slowly, heart hammering in her chest, every instinct screaming to flee. But then a different fire sparked inside her.
No.
She wouldn't run. Not now. Not when someone wanted her scared. 10 minutes later, She stood outside Killian's penthouse, buzzing in without calling. The concierge tried to stop her, but Killian's voice came through the speaker, low and firm. Let her up. The elevator doors opened directly into his sleek, midnight black living room. He looked up from a glass of scotch, the city's skyline blazing behind him. What happened?
She didn't speak.
Just handed him the note. He read it once, then again.
His jaw locked.
Where? He asked. My apartment. Someone broke in. They took my dad's records. Nothing else. Killian didn't respond, just walked over to a side cabinet and pulled out his phone. I'm calling my security team. You'll stay here tonight. No, Sarah snapped. I don't need protection. I need answers. Who would do this? Killian's gaze lifted. Someone who thinks I care about you. Sarah froze. The room grew still. Do you? She asked, her voice barely audible. He looked at her for a long moment. Yes, he said simply. More than I should. Later that night, she stood on the penthouse balcony, wind whipping through her hair, eyes on the glittering city. She was out of place here, and yet she belonged. The sliding door opened behind her. Killian stepped out, jacket off, shirt sleeves rolled up. I asked my team to sweep your apartment. They found a bug. She turned slowly. Someone's been listening to me? He nodded. I don't know who yet, but I will. Her throat tightened. I didn't sign up for this, Killian. I only took this job to save my dad. And now you're in deeper than you expected. He came closer, eyes unreadable. I didn't mean for you to become a target. I thought I could keep you close without exposing you. She stared at him. Exposing me to what? He didn't answer. Just stepped forward, brushing a loose strand of hair from her cheek. I've spent years building walls. You're the first person who's walked through them without asking. Her heart thudded painfully. And now someone wants me gone because of it. He looked down at her, soft but tormented. I'll protect you, Sarah. But I can't promise it won't cost us something. The next morning, Sarah sat alone at Killian's marble kitchen island, coffee untouched. She pulled out her phone and tapped into the hospital system, checking if any suspicious inquiries had been made under her father's name. She froze. A new request had been logged. Someone had tried to access his patient file remotely, using an ID that traced back to HeartCorp's internal server. Her eyes widened. It came from inside Killian's company. She hit redial on his number. But before she could speak, the door burst open. Killian stood there, eyes stormy. You need to see something, he said.
Now.
They drove in silence, tension taut between them. He pulled into a private underground garage beneath HeartCorp HQ. Inside, he led her to a restricted floor, biometric access only. A wall of security footage greeted them. Killian gestured to a pause screen. It was her apartment building lobby. And on it, Elena, in sunglasses and a hoodie. She was there, Killian said, jaw clenched. 3 hours before he got home. Sarah's heart dropped. She broke in? Or ordered someone to? Sarah's mind raced.
Why?
What does she want? Killian's voice was ice.
You. Gone.
Forgotten. Then, quietly, he added. And maybe me. Sarah stared at Killian like the floor had dropped beneath her. Her lips parted. What did you just say? Killian didn't blink. I think your father once saved my life. The words echoed in the room like thunder. They were alone again, his private suite at HeartCorp, the glass walls casting a reflection of the stormy skyline outside. But it was the storm inside Sarah that churned faster. Her voice cracked. My dad? How could he possibly? Killian walked to his sleek mahogany desk, pulled out a drawer, and placed a worn manila folder in front of her. I didn't put it together until I saw his name in your hospital files. David Quinn. He was a paramedic 20 years ago, right? She nodded, warily.
Yes.
He left the job after a car accident, the same one that left him needing surgery now. Killian's jaw tightened. That accident wasn't just any crash. It happened outside my mother's estate. I was 8. A car bomb meant for my father exploded by mistake. I would have died, except a paramedic pulled me out seconds before the second blast. Sarah's chest constricted. He slid the folder toward her. Inside were scanned news articles, an old commendation letter, and a single photo of her father, so young, in uniform, soot streaked on his face, holding a limp child in his arms. That child was Killian. "I've never forgotten that man's face," Killian said quietly. "And when I saw you crying outside the hospital that night, holding your dad's chart, I remembered." Sarah sank into the leather chair, barely breathing. All this time, she thought she was just some charity case he took interest in. But he owed her family more than she'd ever imagined. She whispered, "That's why you helped me. Not because I was special." His eyes snapped to hers.
No.
"That's why I noticed you. But that's not why I stayed." A moment of silence passed, electric, heavy. He walked closer, voice deep. "Do you really think I'd let someone into my home, into my life, just because of an old debt? I've watched you fight like hell for your father, survive a system built to crush girls like you. You think I could ignore that?" Her throat tightened, but her next words were sharp. "Then why keep me in the dark? Why not tell me the truth sooner?" "Because I didn't want you to feel obligated," he said. "I didn't want you to think you owed me anything." A bitter laugh escaped her. "Right. Because it's better that I think I was just a convenient distraction for the man who can buy anything." That cut him deeper than she knew. He took a step back. "I've never met anyone who made me question everything I built until you." Their eyes locked. She wanted to hate him, wanted to run. But instead, all she could feel was the trembling of her fingers and the fear that this, whatever this was, could disappear in an instant. That night, she lay in Killian's penthouse guest room, unable to sleep. The city glittered outside, but it felt cold.
Foreign.
She got up, walked quietly to the hallway, and stopped. Voices. Low, urgent. She crept closer to the study door, slightly ajar. Inside, Killian was on the phone. "No. I don't care what her name is tied to. If Elena planted that bug, she's done. I'll burn the entire board if I have to." Silence. Then, "And keep this away from Sarah. She's already been through enough." Sarah backed away, heart hammering. He was protecting her.
Still.
But she never made it back to her room. Because as she turned the corner, Elena was standing there, arms crossed, eyes glinting like a blade. "You're more trouble than you're worth," Elena said coldly. Sarah froze. "You were at my apartment." Elena smiled sweetly. "And yet here you are, still acting like the poor little waitress who deserves a prince." "Get out of my way." But Elena leaned in.
"He's not yours, Sarah."
"He's just playing the hero for your sob story. Once he fixes your daddy problem, he'll remember who he really belongs to." Sarah didn't flinch. "You're scared." Elena's smile cracked. "I see it," Sarah added. "You think you know him, but I've seen the man behind that cold face. And that's the part of him you'll never reach." Elena's slap came fast, but Sarah caught her wrist. And this time she smiled. "Touch me again," she said softly, "and you'll find out exactly how hard a poor girl can bite." The silence in Killian's penthouse was louder than any scream. Sarah's hands trembled around the phone. The anonymous message burned into her mind. "Ask Killian what he did the night his father died. Then decide if you still trust him." She stood by the tall window, the skyline of the city twinkling like shattered glass. Below, everything looked small, manageable. But up here, her world was spinning out of control. She had only just begun to believe in this fragile, impossible thing between them. She had only just begun to see his cold edges soften for her. And now, this. Killian's footsteps echoed behind her. "You're up early," he said. His voice was calm, low. Controlled. Too controlled. Sarah turned, holding her phone loosely in her hand. Her eyes searched his face, looking for something, anything real. "Killian," she said slowly, "can I ask you something?" He paused. "Of course." She hesitated, then met his gaze directly. "What happened the night your father died?" Everything stilled. His face remained unreadable, but his eyes flickered. "Sarah," he said, the warning in his tone unmistakable. "Where did you hear that?" Her chest tightened. "Just answer the question." He exhaled sharply and walked toward the bar. It's not something I talk about. Not with anyone. That's not good enough. Her voice rose, cracking. You demand honesty from me, then hide something this big? His grip on the glass decanter faltered, and it clinked too hard on the marble counter. I didn't kill him, if that's what you're thinking, he muttered, pouring himself a drink. She flinched at the word. I didn't say that. But you were wondering. He turned around, his voice clipped, his expression dark. Everyone wonders. Even the board. Even Elena. Sarah's breath caught at her name. She sent the message, didn't she? He asked coldly. She didn't answer. He looked away. It doesn't matter. She's always been desperate to bury me in ghosts. Sarah stepped closer. Then tell me the truth. I want to hear it from you. Killian stared out the window for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet. Haunted. My father was a monster. The words hung between them like smoke. He didn't build Hartcorp, he stole it. Manipulated it. Destroyed anyone who challenged him. Including my mother. His jaw tensed. He used me as leverage in business deals. I was 10 when he left me in a Russian boarding school because I talked back at a dinner. Sarah's chest ached. And the night he died. Killian's shoulders stiffened. He called me. Said he was changing his will. That he was going to sell the company to a foreign syndicate out of spite, just to punish me. He told me to come to the estate if I wanted to stop him. A beat. I went. I was too late. He turned to face her fully now, eyes burning. He was already dead. Heart attack, supposedly. But the file was buried. No autopsy. Just silence. Do you think it was murder? Sarah whispered. He didn't answer right away. Then finally, I think he made a lot of enemies. And I think someone made sure he didn't ruin anyone else. Sarah stepped forward, gently. But you didn't. No, he said. But I didn't cry either. Her breath trembled. Why didn't you tell me? Because, he said harshly, you see me as broken. But I'm more dangerous than broken. And I didn't want you to look at me like the world does. His voice cracked then just barely. And yet, he said softer now, when you're near me, I forget how many things I've ruined. Tears welled in Sarah's eyes. He stepped closer. I know you're scared. I would be too. But whatever they throw at you, whatever past they dig up, I'll burn every lie for you. She stared at him, heart pounding. And in that moment she believed him. But before she could speak, his phone buzzed on the counter. Killian checked it. His expression turned to steel. What is it? Sarah asked. He looked up at her, fire in his eyes. They just leaked your dad's medical records to the press. Her stomach dropped. What? Someone's trying to destroy you. Not just me. He grabbed his coat, already moving. And I think I know who. Sarah stood frozen, heart racing. Because she realized then, this wasn't just about love anymore. It was war.